Hold on, let me... turn on some light. Oof, not much better, but better than I was before. There. Now maybe that won't top out so bad. That's a little bit too low. La, 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 la. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I keep saying we'll get to this, we'll get to that, and here we're getting to magic because I'm tired of having to switch back and forth and having an audience that is out of the loop. That's not the point. So, magic is both complicated and not in Kerros, because in Dungeons and Dragons, magic is both complicated and not. But I do not like D&D's official magic system. It just does not. I don't agree. I don't think that is a good system of magic for how I envision magic. It took me a long time to get to the point where I've just finally decided that this is going to be what magic is, because it took me a long time to figure out what I thought magic was, because it's fantasy and magic can be anything you want it to be, but the fun for magic for me has always been it's both unknowable and yet usable at the same time. It's kind of like science, except science is knowable. We kind of know what we're doing. The closest we can get is to saying everything we've gotten so far proves that this is so far true. And I like that. I like science. So trying to meld a mind that likes science and a mind that likes magic is, I thought, hard. But I was over complicating the simplicity of it. Magic is the unexplainable, the unnatural, the whatever that you don't know and you can't explain. It just is. Science is learning to understand the unknowable yet seen or observed or interacted with, and sometimes not interacted with, the absence of it. All of that's just to say that in this world, magic is science that can't be understood. Not that it isn't, it can't be. It's the unknowable form of science, I guess, is a good way to put this. I first started off with what did the real world say what magic was, and there's so many different resources out there, but it all pretty much comes down to, in real life, in the real world, magic is traditionally magic was the unknown universe. The rules in which the universe operates were stumbled upon. They were not investigated, they weren't studied, they were used. Just used. So that was just how things were for a long time. But then all the things in magic in our life suddenly became knowable because whatever scientific revolution or technology or whatever piece of thing has come around to saying, examine what has been claimed to be magical and saying, oh, it's this, this, and this because of this, this, and this. That's it. That's all magic is just science that hasn't explained the real world to us yet. We haven't figured it out. Caveat, magic is also the supernatural, where we know it can't happen. Like raising something from the dead. Just can't be done. We don't know why exactly, but it just can't be done. So that's also magic. Things that can't be done, being done. Miracles would be considered the same thing. In fact, in miracles are, in fact, a form of magic because gods perform miracles. Clerics perform miracles on behalf of gods and such. So, it took me a long time to come to that conclusion. I didn't want to because I wanted to keep the mysteriousness of magic. I want there to be an unexplainable, it's magic, I ain't gotta explain it. It just is that thing. It is magic. I can't explain it. You can't explain it. But it's happening. And there we go. So, to satisfy both the ability for a player to come into this world and learn about it. Sorry, I got something in my... there needs to be some sort of scientific magic going on. But for those of us that don't really care how it's working, we just like the mysticism of it working. I need that too. And it came down to essentially the three parts. There is divine magic. There is emergent magics. And then there is scholarship or wizardry for the general fantasy term. I call it scholarship because in real life it was natural philosophers, scholars like that were doing science and are the wizards of real world that give us computers to operate on. I'm talking to you via the classic meme now of thinking rocks because of magic little runes etched on them telling them what to do and what to say and blah blah this blah blah that. Pure magic. That's why we got the install wizard. It's not a program. It's some little dude in there. And he's doing all the hard work for us. Because he's not going to reveal those secrets. It's a wizard. Come on now. So, starting from where I started, this was the easiest one this is the easiest thing to explain. God magic. That's a God doing it. It's God performing the magic. If it's a deity, it's God magic. If it's a miracle, it's God magic. It's divine magic. It's the magic coming from the gods, or now this is the important part. Anything that has magic that is bestowed upon somebody else, that's also divine magic. So a warlock would be a form of divine magic because the warlock is bestowing the magic to the person, whoever they are. And without that there is no magic being done. So in this world, let's backtrack and get to note taking. God magic. Magic bestowed upon another, be a patron of some sort. God. God, Archfey, Devil, Demon. anything that bestows magic through them to the user is divinity. It's divine magic. To be able to do this is a very specific thing in this setting. To make it easy for the dungeon master, if any of these variables do not match, this would not mean, that would mean it's technically not divine magic. It would mean it had to be some form of emergent magic because the universe is causing it to happen. Going back to divine magic, the qualifications are: the patron must be of the four founders' pure essence. A primordial, an abdomic, an aspect of Keros, which we'll get to in a bit. Those are some emergent factors, though they can be divine themselves. Aspect, abdomic, a primordial. A founder themselves. The stars. Or anything directly tied to mana. What is mana? I'll go back to the top here. Mana is energy. Mana is what fuels everything. Plain simple. Mana is energy. Mana is life. Specifically, mana is what is able to create life. That's why it's all connected to it. All life is connected to it. It's not just life. Mana is substance. Mana is substance. What things are made of. A rock is made of mana, and that can be broken down into its individual properties according to the theory of shape, which is essentially what alchemy uses in this world. My buddy Vincent thought of that idea, and I thought it was a good idea, a good different theory that works. That's another difference in this world. Different theories of magic work and operate both correctly at the same time, yet paradoxically at odds with each other. The theory of shape runs directly in contrast to the theory of what was the other form of magic? It's some pure form of manatee. I can't remember the name, but it's essentially computer programming, straight up pure mana programming. Tell the mana what to do, and it will do it because it can do all these things. The properties are in the mana, not the shape. But the experiments to both prove and disprove the other can be replicated and argued about because they both show positive results for each other's argument in any way. Because that's magic. That's magic. How can these things both exist at the same time and be paradoxically at odds with each other with no level of examination being able to connect both? That's gotta be magic. in our world, we found a link between almost everything. So, in a world where that is not true is a magic world by definition. In that case, so. All right, that hurt a lot. That's what mana is. Mana is the fuel of magic. It's what makes everything essentially connect in the end. It's all mana, but it still gives it connects everything, so the wizards can have something, but it also makes it distinct that there's a line that can't be crossed because due to what you're doing, you can't access all of mana, but you can access the magic parts still. So anything directly tied to mana would mean something that is pure mana. In even in just a vague sense. So something can be part essence of mana that still makes them divine. But the degree of the divinity and the strength of it, I mean, well, that would be up to the DM, because that part can be fleshed out for whatever we want it to be. Let's move this over here. There we go. So, for instance, Karen Noah, who we spoke about in the last stream, she is part human, part primordial, but 100% divine due to her soul. She is 100% Ardor. Just happens to be mixed with 100% human too. So she's divine, and she could bestow others with magic. She can be a patron. She isn't, due to whatever reasons, but she can. She 100% can. So if a dungeon master comes across a player who, during the course of play, they all become clever and say, "Hey, well, we all did this, this, and this, and he had to eat this. Does that mean he's now part this? So is he divine?" And if the dungeon master wants to take this portion, anything directly tied to mana, and run with it and say yes, they can. I think they should, because more power to the player, more fun the DM gets to have, because the player can do it, the DM can. That's the contract at the table. So anything directly tied to mana to the degree that the DM would like. If you want to put a bottom floor threshold on there, you can. There is one for the difference between primordials and the lesser beings, who aren't directly tied to mana. So we'll figure what that part out is, and that'll be the bottom line. So anything, any patron that can bestow magic to another that is directly tied to mana is divine. That is divinity. They have divine powers. Anything in reference to divinity or deities or the deific struggle between law and chaos, and good and evil to an extent, I suppose. I've kind of dropped the good and evil argument in fantasy because, I mean, there's good and then there's evil. You don't get to choose what that is. I mean, there's good things and there's evil things. Pretty much everyone will agree what's good and evil. And That's not really what's being argued here. What the argument really is how do you approach things in a good way or an evil way or stuff and such. And I think the law and chaos debate is way better for that, because like in reality, a religion can have a chaotic interpretation of it and then a lawful one, and sometimes one is more prominent than the other, but they aren't really arguing what's good and evil. They're arguing how to interpret how to live being good, or how to live being evil, if they want to be that. Yeah, I don't think there's really much more in-depth detail for divine magic at all. It's pretty simple. Let's do. I guess a good point to make would be that. So, a magical contract that gives you magic that is broken, your magic is taken away. A cleric who says, I'm no longer a follower of this god, will lose all abilities of a cleric. I mean, it's not... They themselves are not the ones who own the magic. They are just the conduit that the god says, yes, you can use the mana for the way that you sing because I trust you. That's it. They have no capacity within themselves to hold that magic. Can that prevent them from being magical? No. Emergent magics are a thing, and there are other different ways to get magic, but from all magic related to that god is taken away. To me, that would be complete and total. If you decide not to be a cleric anymore, you have forsaken the cleric abilities. Just gone, done. All right, we'll pick something new. Warlocks can be different. Warlocks can negotiate their contracts. Plain and simple. If the contract says the contract is broken or fulfilled and you keep your powers, you keep your powers. Fine. Don't care. Just warlock. It's a contract. So classes that would have plain and simple, cleric, paladins, oh. Hey, we're back. Good. Okay. Yeah. They're a specific type of fighter. In real life, they were a specific group of fighters that were just knights. They were just those knights. So, what's the difference? I mean, of course, there's legends of magical abilities, and those all abound. Sure. I'm just talking about the reality of the situation. They were just knights. Fancy knights. And if we want to extrapolate that into fantasy as them being the stories being true, then they're just magical knights who get their abilities through abiding by their oaths. So they have to make an oath with something. You can't make an oath to a non-thing. You can make an oath to nothing, I suppose, but it has to be to something. And that thing is what is bestowing you the magic. So if you break that oath, that thing takes the magic away. That can't really be negotiated. That's just how that's how it works. Clerics, paladins, warlocks, 100%. Now, let's clarify something here. This is not a damage specific thing we're talking about. That we are not being specific here about mechanical uses of these terms yet for established tabletop RPG play. These are just terms and definitions for the setting. That's it. We will conjoin the two as we go through, but right now we're just talking about this setting's warlocks, this setting's paladins, this setting's clerics. What's another? Let's see. Uh, 5e classes. Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Artificer, Barbarian, Bard, Druid, Monk, Ranger, blah, blah, blah. I don't see anything that would else be considered a different class or another class that would be included in here. I see all these. Yeah, no, none of those. Nothing else. Yeah, no, just these. For standard 5e play that I'm pulling from. That's why I started off in 5th edition. Do I like it? Yes. Do I like the other ones? Sure. I have no preference. I'm not in it for the rules like that. I'm in it for the storytelling ability of the game around the rules. So, these are the divine magic sub classes for this setting. Emergent magics. This is the kind of a weird one, but this is the one that makes it so those who want the mysticism magic to stay such, this is the types of magic that they're thinking about. This is I'm putting this spell circle together to do this thing, and it just happens to work out this way, and the wizard examining it can piece nothing together as to why it's working, other than it's definitely mana being worked to perform this thing. So wizards cannot replicate emergent magics. Emergent magics are magics that emerge from the little black box that happens that you put there. You put the instructions through, the magic happens. That's it. That's all you can do. You have very little knowledge about specifically what is happening, but you can reliably use it yourself. So who cares? Can't be replicated by wizards, but sometimes can be by divine users, such as resurrection. Bringing things back to life technically is possible. They're in this setting. All rules still say that yes, you can bring people back from the dead. There's nothing that says you couldn't, other than air just preventing people from bringing the souls back. Just don't. They have taken control of the souls from the time that they leave the body. The closest anybody can get is revivify according to 5e. You have a minute, and then that's it. You're dead. Done. Donzo. No more. You cannot pass go, cannot collect $200, cannot true resurrect, cannot. There is no wish that can bring you back. You have to defeat air if you want that to happen. So, wizards can't replicate it. Divine users can, because the divinity that is using the magic knows the weave, or knows the mana, and how to use it. So they know the universe and how the universe is using the mana to get that result, so they just do that. Wizards don't have that capability. And when I say the word can't in these things, I literally mean cannot. The player can't argue the DM with these things. That's just it. No logic that can be pulled out of anything is going to let the player equivalate wizardry, emergent magic, and divinity. Divine magic. Divine magic and emergent magic will always have that leg up of they don't need to know. So a player saying, well, can't I go grab my I don't know, warlock friend, and then just have them scientifically break down how they're doing things, so I can just replicate that as a wizard. There's no reason. I'm doing exactly the same thing as the warlock, so I should be getting the exact same results. All you need to do to tell the player is you do the exact same thing that the warlock does by their instruction every time, and you do not get the same result. You just don't. There is nothing that says why this is not happening. Just isn't. So I don't know how hard that's gonna be to get through somebody's mind, but if they can't accept that, they just can't, this is not the setting for them. Just don't try. Move on to a different setting. Do something else. If it really is that bothersome of them that they have to be able to equivalate it to each other, they don't understand. They just don't get the point. It's completely, they have completely missed the point. Which is fine. I'm not saying they have to, or they need to, but if you want to, that's what you gotta accept. That's about all you can really explain about this type of magic. Is it's magic that can't be replicated by wizards, but can be replicated by the divine, but isn't divine. It doesn't have something in control. The laws of the universe that are currently in operation say that this is how it goes. It's a lot like how we just operate a lot of things in real life. We just see that something works, and we don't look farther deep into it, and that's just it. So the little black box is telling me the same thing when I do this, so I'm just going to keep doing this to get that same thing. Classes. Oh crap, I gotta pull that thing back up. Okay. So this is the one that will have most things. I don't know why I did that. So let's see. I didn't need to do that. There we go. Barbarians, bards, druids. Yeah. Monks? Maybe? They might be a form of wizardry. Because they break down the science of the body. And though the methods are spiritual, the spirit in this world is objectively true. So you can work with it, you can observe it, you can examine it, you can find out the things about it. So I'm thinking a monk may probably be a form of wizard. Rangers. No, I'm going to say Rangers are a form of wizard because they have to learn. They have to see the world around them to operate. And it also gives a separation between druids and Rangers, where a druid could bring somebody back to life. A Ranger would not be able to. I'm just going to take monks out too because that makes sense to me. Rogues, definitely. Oh, no. Rogues would be a form of wizardry. Sorcerer. Definitely sorcerers. Yep. All right. The study of magic is what scholarship is. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way since I got it up. You got monks. Rangers. Rogues. I don't need... Rogues can have a subclass. They're not magical themselves. Rangers kind of need that magic mysticism to them because it is kind of a weird thing. So I'm going to keep them as a magical class because I agree that they are. Wizards, including artificers just applied. It's just applied wizardry. It's just an engineer, man. Don't make them more special than they really are. They don't need to be. They're already cool. You don't need to make them something they're not. And I think the only ones that aren't included in this then are... No, I'm not going to include barbarians. Because that's not... That's their form of fighter. So... I think that's fair to distribute them this way. Oh, got about 40 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so this is the basic overview of magic. If it's in these classes, that's pretty much what the magic is. I think you can kind of formulate those ideas. But divine magic is anything that is pure mana essence, connected to it, and can know it in that way. They are divine and can bestow that ability to others should they want to. So a cleric, a paladin, a warlock. Emergent magics is when somebody uses just the natural rules of the universe to do their things. Druids, perfect example. They just heal the land, take care of it. They understand the balance, that there's natural balances, there's natural extremes, there's blah blah this, blah blah. But they don't break it down scientifically like wizards would. They break it down like a druid would. They know that there are some things that they don't know and can't know, and that does not bother them. It bothers the stew out of wizards, but so be it. So, and then wizards scholarship, the study of magic, anything that studies mana and its uses and magic and its manifestations. Which in this world there are specific ones. The classic schools of magic I both like and dislike. So the original schools of magic for 5e, I like them to classify effects, but I don't like them to be used as the classification of the user. They don't really correlate well because everybody picks magic missile. You're gonna have to. It's a combat game. That does not fit. A wizard who's an illusionist would never use magic missile. They're an illusionist. They need illusions. They would conjure something that looks like magic missile. That's just messing with you. So that is, I don't. They're good for spell classifications. They're not good for a spell effect classification. They're not good for wizard classification, nor I think the spell itself's classification, because two different types of wizards could use the same type of spell and get the same result that has the same spell effect class type, but the way they reached it was completely just different. So based on the study of that wizard, such as an alchemist is not the same as a geomancer, though they use similar theories, like the shape theory. The geomancers believe that there's a shape theory, but it really only applies to gems and precious stones and stuff like that, because Keros is the mother of all in the earth, and these are her parts of personified mana. That's their idea. But the alchemists are like, no, it's just that's got the shape of that, and that shape has these properties because that's what that shape, according to the universe, says. It has those properties, and I'm just gonna extract the pieces that I want and put them in this other thing that has these other pieces of property that I want. And they deconstruct and reconstruct, and boom, same effect. Different classes, same effect. So in this world there are 8 or 9 original schools of magic from when the first school of magic was founded, and that is a whole hullabaloo that we'll get into in a little bit later video. This is just establishing the differences between magic, so I have to keep saying we'll talk about it later. This is basically what I mean. These are the differences that I keep in mind of the magic in this world. Took me 10 full years to reach that conclusion. And once I did, that's when I was finally like, okay, we can finally play and do stuff in this world. Because I think that decision is appropriate for the setting and can be made without having to go back and remake everything. I am a dungeon scholar of this world via wizardry. There are things that I will not be able to figure out of this world, which is fine. That's what the emergent magic parts are for. But I'm going to be looking at it through the lens of a wizard. I don't know what kind of wizard. It's a me wizard. I don't think this setting will have classes in the rules that are built with it. These are just referential to understand the different types of magic. But I don't really like how classes are used because it's really restricting. It's a game, yeah, but it's also supposed to replicate reality to an extent. People aren't classes. You aren't, you're the amalgamation of the skills that you've put together, and you yourself can limit that to what you think a fighter is. But Joe Blow 2 feet next to you will have a completely different set of skills and still be a fighter just as good as you. That's not a subclass difference. That's a total difference. Like they don't share any skills at all. One's a monk and the other one sits down. That's just how vastly different somebody's skill in a magical world can be. The person sitting down can beat you up physically as a fighter. That you just is not real, but it's magically able to be done. So classes in that way, I don't think will be in the rule set that follows with this system or this setting. Uh, and then that just opens up. Somebody can be, oh, I want to be a wizard, but I want to be a wizard how I think a wizard should be a wizard, and that will come at odds. But that doesn't mean the player can't strive to create what they want within the world. Uh, One good example of this that people could watch if they wanted to would be Dimension 20 Fantasy High. Gorgud went from being a barbarian in the first season to multi-classing artificer in the second season, and then third season making it a single class itself, doing both. Uh, which, yes, you can do that in 5e, but it does not. It's not. That's heavily dependent on the dungeon master to be able to be clever enough to do that for the players. I want the system to present itself to the player as that already. I don't think 5e does that. It could, and it just fully does have the capability of doing something. Case in point, D20 Fantasy High already can be done with standard homebrew as it is. I just getting rid of whole cloth because I want to. I don't want to remap onto an old thing. I just want to create something new. Not because I want it to be my own, but because now I don't have the baggage of any other thing. And the expectations of my table will be more specific, will be more fulfilled than just a simple remapping. So yeah, this is the basics of mana, of magic. Magic is the whole idea, the whole shebang, and then mana is the fuel, the energy, the life, the substance that makes it possible. And the different ways you can use magic are these three ways. But those three ways can be mixed and matched and broken down farther than anything we can think of right now. Yep. That's it for this one. I don't know what the next one will be. I'm probably going to pick back up on the Balnesian. I'm going to be thinking about them some, but I think I might pivot to ecology of the world. Right now, that's really what I'm focusing on, just outside of my dungeon mastering, because that's what my interest is in right now. So I'm going to probably break down that more, because that will also help dictate culture development of civilizations within those places that I just don't know yet, and I would rather not backtrack. I've tried a few times to just there you go. I tried a few times to just get down dirty without knowing what's there. But it's severely lacking in the detail department for me to be satisfied with how my players are being shown the world. So I need more on my end to be able to give them more. So I think focusing on a non area specific area focus will help me start narrowing it down. I've taken a very wide approach to this setting building. That's how I've always done it. Start with the big scope and then get down to the tiny village that the players start in. I started our first campaign the other way, and it was great. We had a great time. We loved that setting. We're still playing in it. I didn't like it. I hate it. I hated every second of it. Playing catch up every week was not fun. So being prepared is more fun. That's why I've taken 10 years before I told my players, yeah, we're playing in this setting now. And the place that we started with was a setting that they create and start making themselves. They make those decisions. So I'm like, I don't have to do any of this crap. They get to do all that. And it's part of a world that they can do literally anything fun, even weird by the standards of fantasy. So next time, probably life and ecology and geography, stuff like that. Starting from the north to the south and getting more information about who and what lives where and what they would look like. That's going to be fun.